First Contact and Deception. The Valyrian warships emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, their bioorganic hulls shimmering with an otherworldly iridescence against the backdrop of Earth's atmosphere. High Admiral Zenaval stood on the command deck of the flagship Eternal Dawn, her silver-scaled hands clasped behind her back as she studied the blue planet below through multispectral sensors. Preliminary analysis complete, High Admiral, announced First Observer Crix, his tendrils pulsing with the soft blue light of active data processing. The humans possess approximately 3,000 artificial satellites, most appearing to be primitive communication and observation platforms. No energy shields detected. No quantum weaponry signatures. No gravitic defense systems. Zenaval's facial ridges tightened in what her species considered a smile. After 50 cycles of conquest across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy, this would perhaps be their easiest acquisition yet. The Intelligence Division had spent 3 Earth years monitoring this world, and every report confirmed the same conclusion. Humanity had achieved spaceflight, but possessed no meaningful defensive capabilities by Valyrian standards. "Show me their most advanced military installation," she commanded. The holographic display shifted to reveal a human naval base. Zenaval studied the aircraft carriers, submarines, and missile systems with growing amusement. Chemical propulsion weapons, radio communications, and armor made of processed Earth elements. How had such a primitive species even managed to reach their own moon? "High Admiral," Crix interrupted her contemplation, "we're detecting unusual patterns in their global network traffic. The humans appear to be engaging in entertainment activities. Their population seems unaware of our presence despite our proximity." "As expected," Zenaval replied. "Their sensor technology is barely able to detect objects at the edge of their solar system. Begin the standard First Contact protocol." The Eternal Dawn's communications array powered up, broadcasting the Valyrian Empire's message across every frequency humans used for communication. The message was simple: surrender and accept status as a protectorate species, or face immediate military action. The Valyrians had used this approach on 17 other worlds. 16 had surrendered immediately. 1 had resisted for 6 hours before capitulation. Hours passed. The human response came not through their primitive radio systems, but via a direct quantum transmission that made Zenaval's ridges twitch in surprise. The message was brief. "No. Impossible," Crix whispered, his tendrils now pulsing amber with concern. "Their technology shouldn't be capable of quantum communication." Before Zenaval could respond, new data flooded their sensors. What had appeared to be defunct satellites suddenly activated, revealing themselves as a network of sophisticated observation platforms. The supposedly primitive communications satellites began emitting complex targeting signals, and most disturbing of all, the moon's surface rippled as massive hangar doors opened to reveal shipyards that had been completely hidden from their scans. "Full defensive protocols," Zenaval ordered, but her command came too late. The first wave of human counterattacks didn't come from energy weapons or traditional space-based platforms. Instead, thousands of seemingly simple kinetic projectiles, launched from what had appeared to be civilian mining operations in the asteroid belt, streaked toward her fleet. The Valyrian shields, designed to deflect energy weapons and quantum attacks, proved useless against these elegantly simple weapons. "They deceived us," Zenaval realized, watching as her mighty fleet began to scatter. All of it, the primitive satellites, the chemical weapons, the radio communications, it was a facade, a carefully constructed mask to hide their true capabilities. The humans' next transmission came through all channels simultaneously, their quantum encryption easily bypassing Valyrian security protocols. "You assumed our technology would mirror yours. You thought our defenses would be obvious. This was your first mistake. Would you like to avoid making any others?" As Zenaval watched her fleet's carefully maintained formation dissolve into chaos, she understood with brutal clarity that humanity hadn't survived and thrived by accident. They had developed along a completely different technological path than the Valyrians, creating defenses that were invisible precisely because they weren't what any advanced species would expect to find. The High Admiral did something no Valyrian military commander had done in 300 cycles. She opened a direct channel to the human leadership and spoke a single word: parley. In the silence that followed, Zenaval contemplated how thoroughly they had been outmaneuvered. The humans hadn't just prepared for invasion. They had prepared for overconfident invaders who would underestimate them. And in doing so, they had turned the Valyrians' own assumptions into a weapon more effective than any fleet of warships. The Hidden Shield. Captain Sarah Chen sat in the command center deep within Olympus Base, carved into the heart of Mars' tallest mountain. The massive holographic display before her showed the Valyrian fleet's disarray with crystalline clarity. Decades of preparation had led to this moment, and humanity's strategy was unfolding exactly as planned. Status report on Shield Protocol Omega, she commanded, her voice steady despite the historic nature of these events. The response came from Dr. James Martinez, their lead defense systems architect, his dark eyes reflecting the blue glow of auxiliary displays. "The quantum entanglement network is holding steady," he reported. "Every satellite in our primitive communication grid is now revealing its true nature. The Valyrians' quantum encryptions are being unraveled faster than they can adapt. We're not just reading their transmissions, we're inside their systems." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Humanity had discovered early in their space age that traditional defensive systems, energy shields, orbital platforms, massive space fleets, were too obvious and too easily countered. Instead, they had developed what they called the Ghost Protocol. Technology disguised as primitiveness, weapons hidden in plain sight. "Their High Admiral has requested parley," announced Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka from her communications station. "Should we accept on standard terms?" "Not yet," Sarah replied. "Let's show them Phase 2 first. Activate the Lazarus Protocol." Throughout the solar system, what appeared to be simple mining operations suddenly transformed. Asteroids split open to reveal shipyards and weapon platforms, civilian space stations reconfigured into military installations, and most impressively, the surface of Venus rippled as massive cooling towers emerged from beneath the planet's toxic atmosphere. Humanity's most ambitious deception yet. "They're scanning Venus now," Dr. Martins reported with evident satisfaction. "They're realizing that what they thought was a hellish, uninhabitable planet is actually home to our largest manufacturing complex. The atmospheric storms they detected, controlled weather patterns hiding our thermal signatures." The Valyrian fleet's formation continued to deteriorate as more of humanity's hidden capabilities revealed themselves. What the aliens had dismissed as primitive nuclear submarines surfaced worldwide, each one activating advanced quantum field generators that disrupted the Valyrians' targeting systems. Civilian weather satellites repositioned themselves, forming an intricate web of defensive platforms that could redirect incoming energy weapons using artificially generated magnetic fields. "Message from Lunar Command," Yuki announced. "Admiral Jensen reports the shipyards are fully operational. The first wave of our actual warships is ready for launch." Sarah nodded, studying the tactical display. The Valyrians had committed the ultimate military sin. They had assumed their way was the only way. They had looked for defensive systems that mirrored their own technology, never considering that humanity might have developed along a completely different path. "Their High Admiral is broadcasting again," Yuki reported. "She's apologizing and requesting immediate diplomatic contact to prevent further casualties." "Show me their fleet status," Sarah commanded. The holographic display shifted, revealing the extent of the damage caused by humanity's first wave of kinetic weapons. The Valyrians' mighty warships, designed to withstand energy weapons and quantum attacks, had proved vulnerable to simple physics. Masses of dense material accelerated to incredible speeds by electromagnetic launchers hidden in asteroid mining operations. "They're powering down weapons across their entire fleet," Dr. Martinez confirmed. "Their tactical networks are in chaos. Should we proceed with Phase 3? Sarah studied the tactical display for a long moment. The Valyrians had come expecting to find an easy conquest, a primitive species ready to be subjugated. Instead, they had found humanity's carefully constructed deception, a masterpiece of strategic misdirection decades in the making. No, she decided. Open a channel to High Admiral Zenaval. I think it's time we had a conversation about humanity's place in the galaxy, and about the dangers of underestimating those you don't understand. As the communication channel opened, Sarah reflected on the irony of the situation. The Valyrians had traveled across the galaxy looking for worlds to conquer, only to find that Earth's apparent vulnerability was its greatest strength. Humanity hadn't just prepared for war, they had prepared for peace through strength, creating defenses so subtle that no aggressor would see them until it was too late. Counterstrike. High Admiral Zenaval stood in the neutral meeting chamber aboard the International Space Station, her silver scales reflecting the Earth's blue glow through the observation window. The station, which her forces had dismissed as primitive, had transformed into a sophisticated diplomatic facility. Like everything else about humanity, it had hidden depths. Across from her stood Captain Sarah Chen, flanked by holographic representatives from Earth's Unified Defense Council. The human captain's composed demeanor betrayed no sign of triumph, despite her species' clear strategic victory. Your deception was comprehensive, Zenaval admitted, her translator converting her harmonic speech into clear English. We analyzed your civilization for 3 years. Every scan, every observation, every piece of intelligence suggested a species barely capable of reaching your own moon. That was by design. Sarah replied, we learned long ago that the best defense isn't a wall of shields or a fleet of warships. It's ensuring that potential adversaries never realize they're facing a serious threat until it's too late. The holographic displays around them activated, showing the full extent of humanity's hidden capabilities. What the Valyrians had thought were simple communication satellites were actually nodes in a vast quantum network. Civilian space stations concealed cutting-edge weapon systems. Even Earth's internet, which had appeared primitive and chaotic, was a carefully maintained facade hiding quantum computing networks of staggering complexity. But your population, Zenaval's first observer Crix interjected, his tendrils pulsing with confusion. Billions of humans going about their daily lives, seemingly unaware of any military preparation. How did you maintain such secrecy? Dr. Martinez, who had joined the meeting, smiled. Who says they were unaware? Every human child grows up learning to present one face to the universe while preparing for all possibilities. Our entire civilization is built on the principle of hidden strength. The displays shifted to show Earth's true defensive grid. Beneath the oceans, what appeared to be undersea mining operations were actually massive manufacturing facilities. The planet's magnetic field itself had been subtly modified to create a planetary-scale early warning system. Even the apparent pollution in Earth's atmosphere served a purpose, a carefully maintained chemical cocktail that could be activated to disable certain types of energy weapons. 3 months ago, Sarah continued, when your long-range scouts first entered our solar system, we detected them despite their stealth systems. We could have destroyed them. Instead, we let them observe exactly what we wanted them to see. Every piece of data they gathered reinforced the image we've spent generations crafting. Zenaval's facial ridges tightened in what humans had learned was an expression of deep thought. Your species developed along a completely different technological path than ours. While we focused on obvious power, bigger ships, stronger shields, more destructive weapons, you developed subtle technologies that complement your natural environment. Necessity drove innovation, Dr. Martinez explained. We knew we couldn't match a potential alien invasion force ship for ship or shield for shield. So we developed technologies that wouldn't be recognized as technology. Our planet's magnetic field became our early warning system. Our atmosphere became our shield. The very rocks of our solar system became our weapons. The displays showed new images, massive facilities hidden within Mercury's crater shadows, powered by the sun's eternal energy, bases deep within Venus's clouds, using the hostile environment as the perfect cover. The asteroid belt transformed into a vast network of automated manufacturing facilities and launch platforms. And now, Sarah said, her tone firm but not unkind, we have a decision to make. Your fleet is disabled but largely intact. Your crews are unharmed. We could continue this conflict, but I think we both know that would be unnecessary. Zenaval studied the human captain carefully. You're offering peace. After we attempted to conquer your world. We're offering understanding, Sarah corrected. Your empire has never encountered a civilization like ours. You've never needed to look beyond the obvious. We're offering you the chance to learn a new way of thinking. The High Admiral was silent for a long moment, her analytical mind processing the implications. The humans hadn't just defeated her fleet. They had shattered the Valyrian Empire's entire paradigm of power. Perhaps that was their most impressive achievement of all. The Great Revelation. Deep within the Martian Command Center, First Observer Crix stood before a vast array of holographic displays, his tendrils pulsing with rapid-fire calculations as he attempted to process the true scope of human achievement. Around him, a joint team of human and Valyrian scientists worked to bridge the gap between their civilization's technologies. Your approach to quantum mechanics is unprecedented, he admitted to Dr. Martinez, who was guiding him through the intricacies of Earth's defensive systems. We spent centuries trying to force quantum effects to conform to our will. You simply adapted to them. That's humanity's greatest strength, Dr. Martinez replied. Bringing up a new simulation, we don't try to dominate nature, we work with it. Our quantum network doesn't fight entropy, it uses it as a communication medium. Our planetary defense system doesn't try to stop natural phenomena, it amplifies them to serve our needs. On the other side of the facility, High Admiral Zenaval was engaged in a detailed strategic discussion with Captain Chen and Admiral Jensen. The humans were revealing the full extent of their military doctrine, and each new disclosure left the Valyrian commander more astounded than the last. So your civilian space program, Zenaval began, was real, Sarah confirmed, but it wasn't our only program. While the world watched our public space agencies send rockets to the Moon and Mars, our hidden facilities were developing technologies that no one would expect. We launched failed satellites that were actually advanced stealth platforms. We built research stations that were actually military installations. Admiral Jensen, his weathered face reflecting decades of service, added, every time we appeared to struggle with a technological challenge, we were actually perfecting a different approach entirely. When other species watched us failing to develop energy shields, we were actually creating our atmospheric defense matrix, far more effective and completely invisible to conventional scans. The displays showed the true nature of Earth's defensive capabilities. What appeared to be normal atmospheric phenomena could be controlled to create impenetrable barriers against energy weapons. The planet's magnetic field could be focused into weapons more powerful than any conventional arsenal. Even the radiation belts that surrounded Earth had been subtly modified to serve as both sensor arrays and defensive systems. But the most remarkable aspect, Crix observed, his scientific curiosity fully engaged, is your species' unified commitment to this deception. Every human nation, every space program, every civilian initiative, all playing their part in an elaborate planetary defense strategy. Sarah smiled. We learned early in our history that obvious strength invites challenge, but appear weak while being strong. That's the path to true security. Every human understands this. It's woven into our cultures, our education, our very way of life. The displays shifted to show the solar system's hidden infrastructure, automated factories in Mercury's eternal shadow, powered by the sun's endless energy. Research facilities buried deep in Venus's acidic clouds, shipyards carved into Mars' moons, a defensive grid extending all the way to the Kuiper Belt, disguised as scientific outposts and mining operations. Your civilization hasn't just surprised us technologically, Zenaval admitted, her tone carrying newfound respect. You've demonstrated a level of strategic thinking that our empire has never encountered. We prided ourselves on our military might, our obvious power. And in doing so, we became predictable. That's why we're sharing this with you now. Sarah explained. Your empire has the potential to learn from this encounter. To understand that true strength isn't always visible, that power doesn't have to be displayed to be effective. In the central command room, a new alert appeared on the main display. The Valyrian Empire's ruling council had responded to Zenaval's report. The High Admiral read the message, her facial ridges shifting in what humans now recognized as an expression of relief. They want to establish formal diplomatic relations, she announced. Not as conquerors or protectors, but as equals. They're intrigued by your approach to technology and defense. They want to learn. Dr. Martinez exchanged glances with Sarah. Perhaps that was the true purpose of our deception all along. Not just to defend ourselves, but to teach others that there are different paths to advancement. That sometimes the greatest strength lies in appearing to have none at all. New Dawn. 1 year after the failed invasion, the Earth-Valyrian Joint Conference convened in a most unexpected location, a seemingly abandoned mining facility on Europa, Jupiter's ice-covered moon. As delegates from both civilizations gathered in the vast chamber revealed beneath the moon's frozen surface, they found themselves in what was actually one of humanity's most advanced research facilities. High Admiral Zenaval, now serving as the Valyrian Empire's chief diplomatic officer, stood before the assembled representatives. Her scales had taken on a deeper silver hue, a sign of wisdom gained through experience in her species. Beside her stood Captain Sarah Chen, recently promoted to Earth's Director of Interstellar Relations. A year ago, Zenaval began, the Valyrian Empire made a critical error. We mistook subtlety for weakness, simplicity for primitiveness. Today, we gather to ensure such mistakes are never repeated. By any species. The chamber's holographic displays activated, showing the changes implemented across the galaxy in the past year. The Valyrian Empire had undergone a dramatic transformation, incorporating human principles of hidden strength and adaptive technology into their own civilization. Their once obvious military installations now blended seamlessly with natural phenomena. Their ships had evolved from crystalline displays of power to subtle craft that could vanish among stellar debris. Humanity didn't just defend themselves, Zenaval continued. They showed us a new way of thinking, a path that values wisdom over mere power, adaptation over domination. Sarah stepped forward, addressing the gathering. And the Valyrians showed us something equally valuable, that even the most established civilizations can learn and grow. That conflict can lead to understanding, if we're willing to learn from each other. The displays shifted to show joint human-Valyrian projects across the solar system. On Mercury, vast fields of what appeared to be simple solar collectors concealed quantum energy harvesting systems of unprecedented efficiency. Venus's harsh atmosphere now hosted environmental transformation facilities, their true nature hidden within the planet's eternal storms. Mars had become a testing ground for new technologies that worked with planetary environments rather than against them. But perhaps our greatest achievement, Dr. Martinez added from his position among the Earth delegation, has been the establishment of the Galactic Defense Initiative. The displays showed a new network spreading across known space, not an obvious shield or weapon system, but a subtle web of interconnected natural phenomena, enhanced by joint human-Valyrian technology. We've learned that true security doesn't come from showing strength, Admiral Jensen observed. It comes from understanding, from working with nature rather than against it, from knowing when to be seen and when to remain hidden. First observer Crix, his tendrils now decorated with human fractal patterns, a sign of his dedication to bridging their cultures, activated a new display. Our latest surveys have detected 17 previously unknown spacefaring civilizations in our galaxy. In the past, the Empire would have seen them as potential conquests. Now, we see them as potential partners. And that, Sarah concluded, is perhaps the most important lesson we've learned. The universe is vast and full of wonders we can't begin to imagine. But by working together, by combining Valyrian experience with human adaptability, we can explore it not as conquerors or competitors, but as partners in discovery. The chamber's ceiling transformed, becoming transparent to reveal Europa's ice-covered surface above and Jupiter's massive form beyond. Against this backdrop, human and Valyrian representatives began signing the Galactic Cooperation Treaty, a document that would reshape the future of both civilizations. A year ago, Zenaval reflected to Sarah as they watched the proceedings. I thought I was leading a fleet to subjugate a primitive world. Instead, I found myself at the beginning of a journey that would transform both our species. Sarah smiled. Sometimes the greatest discoveries come when we're forced to question our most basic assumptions. You thought you were coming to teach us about the galaxy. Instead, we all learned something about ourselves. Above them, Jupiter's eternal storms continued their dance, much like the two civilizations below, each finding strength in adaptation, power in subtlety, and hope in understanding. The apparent conflict that had brought them together had given birth to something far greater, a partnership that would reshape the galaxy's future, one hidden wonder at a time.